When a year is surrendered to God, fear loses control and the future gains divine direction. This truth is not a slogan meant to inspire for a moment. It is a spiritual reality meant to transform an entire life. Fear has always been humanity's quiet enemy. It speaks softly yet powerfully, shaping decisions, limiting faith, and stealing peace. Fear tells us to hold tightly to what we can see, to trust only what we can control, and to doubt anything beyond our understanding. But the moment a person places a year, a future, a life into the hands of God, fear begins to loosen its grip. Fear thrives where control is worshipped. Many people step into a new year determined to manage everything: plans, finances, relationships, health, and outcomes. They believe if they plan enough, work hard enough, and worry deeply enough, they can protect themselves from disappointment. Yet fear does not disappear through control. It grows stronger. The heart becomes restless, the mind exhausted, and the soul burdened. Surrender, on the other hand, does not weaken a person. It strengthens them. It shifts the weight of the future from fragile human hands to the eternal hands of God. To surrender a year to God is not to become passive or careless. It is to recognize who truly governs time. Every year that begins does so by His permission. Every sunrise is authorized by Him. Every breath is sustained by His will. When a person understands this, anxiety begins to fade. The future no longer feels like a dark tunnel filled with unknown dangers, but a path already known and overseen by God. Fear feeds on uncertainty. It asks, what if things go wrong? What if I fail? What if I lose what I love? These questions echo loudly at the beginning of a new year because the future feels uncharted. But surrender answers fear with faith. It declares, even if I do not know what tomorrow holds, I know who holds tomorrow. That confidence does not come from circumstances improving. It comes from trust deepening. Many people carry fear from past years into a new one. They remember losses they did not expect, prayers that seemed unanswered, doors that closed suddenly. Those memories whisper warnings: do not hope too much, do not trust too deeply, do not expect change, but surrender invites healing. When the year is placed before God, the past no longer dictates the future. God is not bound by what has already happened. He is the God of restoration, renewal, and redemption. What was broken can be rebuilt. What was lost can be restored in ways greater than imagined. Fear also disguises itself as wisdom. It tells people to be cautious, to protect themselves emotionally and spiritually, to keep God at a distance in case disappointment returns. But true wisdom recognizes that life is safest when entrusted to God. The illusion of safety created by fear eventually collapses. Jobs fail, health changes, relationships shift. Yet when life is surrendered, even instability does not destroy peace. There is a calm assurance that nothing arrives without passing through God's hands first. Divine direction begins where surrender takes place. Many seek guidance without surrender, asking God to bless plans already decided. But divine direction is not God following human plans, it is humans following God's lead. When a year belongs to God, decisions are no longer driven solely by pressure, comparison, or fear of missing out. They are shaped by prayer, patience, and trust. Doors that should not be opened remain closed. Paths that once seemed unlikely become clear. Timing that once felt delayed reveals itself as perfect. Fear pushes people to rush. It creates panic, convincing the heart that waiting equals losing. But divine direction teaches patience. God does not rush because He sees the full picture. A surrendered year learns to move at God's pace, not fear's pace, and in that pace, peace replaces panic. There will be moments in any year that test faith. Unexpected news, sudden loss, personal failure, or global uncertainty can shake even the strongest hearts. Surrender does not remove storms, but it anchors the soul during them. Fear says, "This is the end." Faith says, "God is still working." fear magnifies the problem. Faith magnifies God. When fear loses control, joy begins to grow. Not shallow happiness dependent on circumstances, but deep joy rooted in trust. A surrendered heart learns to thank God not only for blessings, but for guidance through difficulty. It understands that trials are not punishments, but tools. Tools that shape character, deepen faith, and draw the heart closer to God. Divine direction also brings purpose. Many people live reactively, responding to whatever happens next, driven by urgency rather than calling. But when a year belongs to God, life gains intentionality. Every opportunity is examined through prayer. Every challenge is faced with purpose. Even ordinary days become meaningful because they are lived in alignment with God's will. Fear narrows vision. It keeps people focused on survival. Divine direction expands vision. It lifts the eyes beyond mere survival to service, growth, and impact. A surrendered year asks not only, "How can I get through this?" but, "How can God use me through this?" That shift transforms ordinary lives into testimonies of grace. Surrender also redefines success. Fear-based living measures success by outcomes, money earned, goals achieved, approval gained. Divine direction measures success by obedience. Even when results are unseen, obedience brings peace. Even when progress feels slow, obedience keeps the heart aligned with God's purpose. As the year unfolds, there will be choices that test surrender. Moments when fear returns, urging control. In those moments, surrender must be renewed. It is not a one-time decision made on the first day of the year. It is a daily posture of the heart. Each morning becomes an opportunity to say, "God, this day belongs to you." Each decision becomes a prayer, "Lead me." Over time, something remarkable happens. Fear no longer dominates reactions. Peace becomes the default response. Trust replaces worry. Gratitude replaces anxiety. The future, once feared, becomes anticipated, not because it is predictable, but because it is guided. At the end of such a year, the greatest testimony is not that everything went as planned, but that God was faithful through it all. The heart looks back and sees His hand in moments once misunderstood. The soul recognizes growth where it once felt pain, and faith stands stronger, deeper, and more resilient. When a year is surrendered to God, fear loses control because it no longer has authority over the heart. And the future gains divine direction because it is no longer left to chance. It is guided by the one who sees the end from the beginning, who works all things together for good, and who never abandons those who trust Him. Such a year may not be easy, but it will be meaningful. It may not be perfect, but it will be purposeful. And long after the calendar changes again, the impact of that surrender will remain, etched into the soul as a reminder that the safest place for any future is in the hands of God. A new year arrives with quiet authority. It does not ask permission, nor does it wait for us to feel ready. It simply steps into our lives, carrying unknown days, unseen challenges, unexpected blessings, and moments that will shape who we become. Many people enter a new year telling themselves, "This will be my year. I will be stronger. I will do better. I will fix everything." There is confidence in those words, but there is also a hidden danger. When a new year becomes about self-confidence alone, it places a fragile burden on human strength. A new year was never meant to rest on our shoulders. It was meant to rest in God's hands. Self-confidence tells us to look inward for answers. God-dependence teaches us to look upward. Self-confidence says, "I can handle this if I try harder." God-dependence humbly says, "I cannot walk this road alone, but I know the one who can lead me." One approach builds pressure, the other builds peace. One creates pride or despair, the other creates trust and hope. Human confidence is limited. It depends on health, resources, timing, and circumstances. We feel strong when life is smooth, but fragile when storms arrive. One phone call can change everything. One diagnosis can shake our plans. One loss can silence our confidence. Yet God, dependence does not rise and fall with circumstances. It stands firm because it is anchored in something eternal. God does not change when the calendar changes. His power is not reduced by our weakness. His faithfulness is not measured by our success. Many people begin a new year carrying the weight of the previous one. Regrets follow them into January. Failures echo in their thoughts. Promises they could not keep still whisper accusations. Self-confidence tells them to forget the past and try harder. God, dependence offers something deeper, forgiveness, restoration, and a fresh start rooted in grace. God does not ask us to prove ourselves worthy of a new beginning. He invites us to receive it. Depending on God does not mean becoming passive or careless. It does not mean abandoning effort or responsibility. It means recognizing the proper order of life. God, dependence places Him first and everything else second. It means we plan, but we pray first. We work, but we trust more than we worry. We act, but we surrender outcomes to God. True dependence is not weakness, it is wisdom. When a person depends on God, fear loses its loudest voice. Fear thrives where control is worshipped. It whispers, "What if you fail? What if you lose everything? What if this year is worse than the last?" God, dependence answers fear with faith. It says, "Even if the road is hard, God will not abandon me. Even if plans fall apart, God's purpose will stand." This kind of faith does not deny reality. It faces reality with God at the center. A new year is full of unknowns. No one knows what tomorrow holds, let alone the months ahead. Self-confidence demands certainty before peace arrives. God, dependence finds peace even without certainty because it trusts the one who holds tomorrow. We may not know what the year will bring, but we can know who walks with us through it. God, dependence reshapes how we view success. The world defines success by achievement, recognition, and visible progress. But God measures success by obedience, faithfulness, and the condition of the heart. A year may not unfold the way we imagined, yet still be deeply successful in God's eyes. Some of the most meaningful growth happens quietly, in patience learned through waiting, humility formed through difficulty, and faith strengthened through unanswered questions. Many enter a new year asking, "What do I want?" God, dependence asks a better question. What does God desire to do in me and through me? This shift changes everything. It turns prayer from a wish list into a relationship. It turns goals into opportunities for service. It turns life from a personal project into a sacred calling. Depending on God also changes how we respond to failure. Self-confidence crumbles when mistakes are exposed. It either hides in shame or hardens in pride. God, dependence runs toward mercy. It admits failure honestly, receives forgiveness gratefully, and rises again with renewed hope. God is not looking for perfection, He is looking for surrender. A year built on self-confidence often leads to exhaustion. Trying to control outcomes, meet expectations, and carry every burden alone drains the soul. God, dependence offers rest, not the absence of work, but the presence of trust. It reminds us that we are not the savior of our own lives. That role is already taken. There will be moments this year when strength feels insufficient, days when motivation disappears, nights when worry steals sleep. In those moments, self-confidence has nothing left to offer. But God, dependence becomes a lifeline. It prays when words are few. It hopes when emotions are weak. It believes even when circumstances argue otherwise. Depending on God also reshapes our relationships. When we rely only on ourselves, we place unrealistic expectations on others to fulfill us. God, dependence frees people from carrying the weight of being our source. We love more patiently, forgive more freely, and serve more sincerely when God is our foundation. This year will include both blessings and battles. God, dependence does not promise an easy path, but it promises a faithful guide. God walks with us through celebrations and sorrows alike. He is present in quiet mornings and restless nights. He is near in success and closer still in suffering. Some people fear dependence because they confuse it with loss of control. In truth, dependence on God is the safest place to be. We were never designed to be independent from our Creator. True freedom is found not in self-rule, but in surrender to divine wisdom. As the year unfolds, plans may change, doors may close, unexpected opportunities may appear. God, dependence teaches us to hold plans loosely and faith firmly. It allows us to adapt without losing peace, because our security is not tied to outcomes but to God's presence. This year is not a test of how strong we are. It is an invitation to discover how faithful God is. Every day offers a chance to choose trust over control, prayer over panic, surrender over striving. When we reach the end of the year, the most important question will not be how much we achieved, but how deeply we trusted. Not how impressive our journey looked, but how closely we walked with God. A year lived in God. Dependence may not always look successful to the world, but it will be rich in purpose, peace, and eternal value. So as this new year unfolds, let self-confidence step aside and let God, dependence take its rightful place. Let every morning begin with surrender. Let every decision be guided by prayer. Let every fear be answered with trust. This is not the year to prove ourselves. This is the year to depend on God, fully, humbly, and faithfully.